the goal of tonight, as you're getting seated, is to make sure we're all working with the same narrative when we talk about the property. Sir, how are you doing?
How are you filming?
Good. To make sure we're all working, I want us all to be working on the same narrative, on the same kind of, this is what we're doing, where we're going. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take about 15 to 20 minutes, and I'm going to share some facts, I'm going to dispel some myths, and we're going to talk about the process of moving forward. And then what we're going to do is we're going to want you at your tables to kind of discuss a little bit about what your thoughts are, what are your questions, and just write them out. One person write them out on one of those pieces of paper we gave you, because we want to collect those. But we're also going to take your questions after that. Just the questions off that, we'll do our best to answer. I'm going to do my best to answer them on that. So here we go. In 2000, First United purchased 78.25 acres on Williamson Boulevard. This property is adjacent to Florida Hospital now. It was not Florida Hospital when they bought it. They bought it before Florida Hospital went in. We bought it there. It's adjacent to Florida Hospital on Williamson. It runs from where Florida Hospital, here's another picture for you. It runs, you can see Florida Hospital in the back. It runs from Florida, wait, this thing does this, doesn't it? Yes! Florida Hospital, and it runs down Williamson here. This is Flomich Road Extension. Right through here, if you cross the other side, it's Strickland Range Road. All right, it goes to this cleared area back here. So that's the piece of property that we own right there. 78.25 acres. Approximately 60 acres are what we call upland or buildable acres. 18 acres are non-developable or wetland acres. And so there you can see that. Why did we purchase it? When the momentum began in the late 1990s to develop the LPGA community, church leadership recognized the importance of continued growth in the western part of the community. We felt like there needed to be a presence of First United out west across the bridge. There were plans to build a large campus. This is the initial master plan. It doesn't show up real well because back then they didn't have everything in the computers like we do now. So you have to take a picture and put it into the computers. But it was a large site plan that included an assisted living. It included large worship spaces, school, offices, education wings, ball fields, parking for 9,000 people almost. It seems like a lot of parking. That was all the master site plan in the 2000 era. Why didn't we build? There are several reasons. There are several stories, opinions, and rumors as to why we didn't build. Which is important as they are as to why. I don't think it does us any good to rehash why we didn't do that. I just think you need to know there are a variety of factors that came into play that contributed to the decision not to build. No matter why we didn't build or do anything out there, I think we all realize now that the sacrifice made by the folks in 2000 have created an endowment for our future, and it's time to kind of talk about moving forward. So a few facts for you. We purchased it for $2.1 million. And people ask the question, do we still own the property? Yes and no. Let me explain to you this. When we purchased it in 2000, we had an open line of credit from SunTrust Bank. I don't think it was SunTrust then, was it? Was it SunTrust then? Okay, from SunTrust Bank, we had an open line of credit from SunTrust Bank. You may be aware that in the 2000s, in the mid-2000s, bank had some issues. Different banks had issues. So we had this open line of credit that we were drawing from. We were paying it down, but we were also drawing from it. One of the things we did is SunTrust came and said, you have to move to a traditional mortgage. We're no longer going to do open lines of credit. You're going to move to a traditional mortgage. What you need to know is before we moved to a traditional mortgage, we bought the two pieces of property at the south end here. There were two houses here on Fluhart in Halifax. We bought them, we've torn them down. It's now kind of a grass overflow parking lot, if you will. We purchased those. We also fixed the roof on the sanctuary. We took money out from the bank to fix the roof on the sanctuary and to fix the air conditioner in the sanctuary. Those three things are about $500,000 on that. So in 2015, one of the things I learned right after I moved here is we had a balloon payment due in 2015. So we refinanced the loan through the Florida Methodist Foundation, and we are paying it off. We're paying it monthly mortgage, $3,900 a month. And as of the last day of September, we owe about $500,000 on it. So yes, the property's paid off. We're kind of paying for everything we're doing in Halifax now, but it's still kind of tied to the property. People always go, how much is the property worth? I'm learning, and we're learning. The more property you sell at one time, the less per acre price. So if you were to sell it all, maybe about $85,000 an acre. If you were to parcel it off, you might be able to get up to 180. Let's just say this, it's worth a lot more than we bought it for in 2001. All right? So a few other things. You may have heard about deed restrictions or covenants. They're called both. We talk about the property, you may hear us say there's some deed restrictions, there's some covenants on this. What that means is this. We bought the property at a reduced price. The seller, Consolidated Tomoka, gave us a $400,000 discount. That's what it says on the paperwork for the property. With the understanding they put these deed restrictions or covenants on it. They didn't want us to turn around and sell it and make a profit off of it. So they put these covenant deed restrictions on it saying that we could not build out there unless it's for religious purposes, nor could we sell it to anyone without their approval. And if we sell it, they have the right to garnish the profits on that. That's some of the covenants going on. Now, all those covenants go away in 2020. It was a 20-year covenant. So 2020 gets here, we are free and clear to do whatever we want to with the property. And we kind of realize now, Barb, you can back me up on this real estate person, we're close enough now with commercial real estate that by the time we get through lots of the red tape, so to speak, even if we were to do something today, it's going to take us a year or two to get there. We'll be close enough to the covenants. We think it's time, covenants being done, we think it's time to begin thinking about moving now. Now, something else I've heard, or we've heard. There's been some rumors out there that we can't do anything with the property. If we sell it, the Methodist Church is going to get all the money. That's not true. I'm not sure where that came from, but there is something called the trust clause. The Methodist discipline, this is a 2016, it's been in the Methodist discipline since Jesus wrote the Methodist discipline, whatever that was. John Wesley wrote the Methodist discipline. Methodist discipline, 2016, paragraph 2501. All properties of the United Methodist local churches and other Methodist agencies and institutions are held in trust for the benefit of the entire denomination. Its ownership and usage of church property is subject to the discipline. Here's what that means. As long as we are United Methodist, the property is ours to do what we want to with it, with a few guidelines. Meaning, if we were to sell all the property and send me on a round the world trip, they're not going to let us do that. They're also not going to let you sell all the property and use it to fund your budget. That's a Methodist rule. You couldn't say we're going to sell our property and we're not going to give anymore. We're just going to live off that. They have some rules like that. And they have rules that if we were to build something out there, the Board of Mission and Church Extension has to approve the building. One of the reasons they want to do that is they don't want us to build a $75 million complex out there when we can only afford a $3 million complex. So there's some things like that. But if we sell it and we're United Methodist, we get to keep all the proceeds from that. Now, if we cease to be United Methodist, we can do that. We can have church meetings, we can take a vote, and we can choose not to be United Methodist. We can choose to be Presbyterian, Baptist, or free will, free shoes, whatever you want, church. If we do that, the Methodist Church will say, we're going to honor your commitment as a church that you agreed to do this, you follow the protocol and procedures, you're free to go be your own denomination, your own organization, the property's ours. By the way, Tomoka, Riverview, Community, every other Methodist church has the same clause. But if we were to sell the property, the money's ours to determine what to do with it. All right? Are we moving? We've heard that before. Are we moving? Okay, this is what we call mission insight of our church. And so where people in our church live, if you've given us your address, we have the ability to plug it into a computer program through the United Methodist Church. It's incredible the data they can show us. But if you see, that's right about where the church is right there. Look at all those people who live beachside. It's a bunch of people who live across the bridge, isn't it? And then there are a bunch of y'all people up there. That's them Halifax Plantation Babe, you know how they are. They're up there. This obviously is the trails area. We got a bunch of trails people. And the Wilson family, right? And then this is breakaway trails and, what's the other one? All those out there, all right? So just for reference, there's our property right about there, and you know what's coming in here. We're going to get here for a second. I can't address what was happening in 2000, but all the stuff I read through from 2000, there was no discussion about completely moving out there. And all the discussions we've had, there have been no discussions about leaving here and moving out there. So I just kind of want to share that with you. This is kind of how we said the strategic plan for First United calls for a multi-site strategy. That's what we talked about 2 years ago. And the guide team affirms this strategy. We want to go to where the people and the needs are. And our study confirms there is an importance on Halifax property in meeting the needs of our current congregation here in Halifax. However, we also recognize that we have a presence where the largest growth in our community is going to take place. I'm not sure if you're aware of this or not. The population is not going to really grow on the island here. There's an ocean. It stops the growth. Where population is going to grow is out west. We think we need to do that. The guide team and the property team took a comprehensive look at both properties and other properties as well to see how can we work in the community. The discussion has included how do we work on the property at Halifax, what do we upgrade, what do we do here, but we have no plans to move. The property team discussion has been how are we going to use the property on Halifax, what do we need to upgrade, what do we need to keep. But at this time, we got no plans to move, so I'm not sure where all that's coming from. So we got some questions about, all right, that's all the facts, rumors and all, we'll come back to that. What are we doing moving forward? Before we do that, I want to talk to you about, wrong thing. I want to talk to you about the windshield versus the rear view mirror. Which one do you drive with? Both. You need both, but you better be looking through that windshield first, right? The windshield here's the thing, if you're in a car and you're in a windshield and you're looking through the front, everybody, whether you're sitting in the front seat, the back seat, the passenger seat, you're looking through that windshield, you can see all the opportunities. That rear view mirror only shows one angle. It only shows the angle you're looking at it from. You can't move forward by looking in that rear view mirror. You can only move forward by looking through the windshield, that wide open opportunities. As we talk about the property, I want to make sure that we're talking about looking at it through the windshield, not the rear view mirror. If you're a good driver, and some of you are, if you're a good driver, you keep your hands at 10 and 2. You look out here, but occasionally you check up just to make sure what's behind you, just a little bit. But you can't drive by spending all your time looking at that. You got to look here. And so as we begin to talk about moving forward, use the windshield, not the rear view mirror. With all that said, the property team this year, our guide team, our leadership structure, charged the group, property team, you would know it better by the name of the trustees group, but the property team, we kind of put some other people together. There are about 14, 15 folks on that team. Started meeting back in January. They were charged with the task, we want a decision about what direction are we going with the property at the end of this year. In other words, we want to move from being reactive to proactive. What's our plan? And so they began to meet, and they have met, Bobby, you were on that team, they've met 20 times or so. I mean, they've met a lot. They also decided, they came back to the guide team going, it's not just the property on Williamson we need to deal with. What about this property? When you were on trustees, Cecil, one of the things they did is they did a study of all of our equipment and came up with these are pieces of equipment that are going to break at this point, and this point, and this point. What are we doing with this building? What are we doing with that building? They began to look at all the property. They began to explore every idea. What would it look like if we sold all the property? What would it look like if we flattened all the property here? What would it look like if we sold both pieces of property? They researched, they brought in experts to talk to them. They went to other churches, all kind of stuff. And then they came back to the guide team a few months ago and said, all right, we're kind of to a point, we've got one or two options we want to consider. We think they're both really good, and we're going to let y'all make some decisions on them. They came to the guide team and said, look, we could sell it all. That was one of the options. Sell all of it sell all of it, 6, 7, 8 million, maybe? What do you do with that money? All right. Then they said, sell a large portion of it, because in all their research, they discovered that 78 acres is huge. Most churches, most Methodist churches in Florida are 20 acres. I actually know the church I came from, we owned 20 acres, and we had a master site plan to build 5 buildings, about 100,000 square feet on that property of 20 acres. And we still had property left over for some ball fields. So they kind of said, we think one of two options. You can do sell it all, or sell a good portion of it, but keep 20, 25 acres. And so the guide team began to discuss and debate and dialogue about this, and they really began to wrestle with, let me go back, I just realized I wanted to do this. They came back with, both are great options. That's a great problem to have. Both are good options. But I can't speak for the guide team. I don't vote on the guide team. I just am there for the discussion. I can tell you a key moment for me was when a member of the guide team who's been around for a long time said, I don't think the people that sacrificed in 2000 to build something out there or do something out there, they felt there was a need for something. They didn't give their time, energy, and resources as an investment. They gave their time, energy, and resources. They felt like there needed to be something, a presence on the western side of the community. Now I'll tell you in that moment we kind of said, all right. So the guide teams made the decision, we want to sell all but this section right here. See, we think this section right here, this south, what we call the southeast section, 25 acres, which would be on the corner of Williamson and Flomich Road Extension. By the way, if you kept driving out this road, and let's just say somebody develops it and it crosses 95 and it hooks into Jimmy Buffettville out there, how about that? That's a prime piece of real estate. So we've made the decision that we're going to sell this, we're going to sell all of this and do this. By the way, can I tell you something? It's been for sale. Cecil, do you know how long it's been for sale? Property out there? We've had it marketed with a realtor since at least 2008, 2007. Somebody's been marked with it's just been for sale, and we've been kind of, people would show up and say, make an offer. We're now want to be a little more proactive. We're not going to sell this corner, but we'll sell all of this. All right? And so let me tell you, that's kind of plan, because here's why. Whoops. Here you go. This is just the last 3 weeks. Y'all read the News Journal, right? Boomtown Boulevard, 6,900 home, Jimmy Buffett. Right, that's a mile and a half away. Buc-ee's, have you read about that gas station? 120 pumps. Not only that, it is bigger than a Publix and will allow you to shop in there, buy your groceries and everything in there. And it's going at the corner of LPGA and I-95 right next to Stonewoods. There's some discussion between Stonewoods and Buc-ee's about parking issues, but I'll let Gail deal with that. Across the street on LPGA, right there with Tanger Outlets, which are there, Sam's Club, 7 different chain restaurants, and what they call big box stores are coming. This is all in your local media, you can get this. And then on the east side of Williamson, across from Tanger Outlet, a pavilion-type mall. That's the type of mall that's in Port Orange is going in. Those are all planned. Those have all been approved. They're all at work building right now. Today's article from today, ICI Homes, to compete with Jimmy Buffettville, is going to build across the street from, Timber Creek Road. Is going to keep going now, and they're going to put in 2,500 homes. What they call a full-life community. I have no clue what that means. I just know it's 2,500 homes. So what the guide team realized is this. It is a good time to sell. Because there's a market for it out there. So with that said, I want you to know, here's the timeline moving forward. Here we go. These are the next steps that are going to happen. We're going to sign a letter of intent. A letter of intent means First United Methodist Church is working with a corporation, a group, a person, something that wants to buy the property. We're agreeing to sell it to them, they're agreeing to buy it from us, and now we're going to start negotiating a price. I need to be upfront with you. We're not going to tell you when we're doing that. Because they're so fluid, there's so many things that can happen, it doesn't do any good. Just so you know, we've signed 4 of them since I've been here. With different organizations wanting to buy the property with us and us wanting to sell, and these things could do that. So we've done that. We're not going to tell you that because there's really no need to, because all we're doing is they're negotiating with our real estate person's negotiating with their person to come up with a price. Now, when we come up with a price to sell the property, when we agree to what they're wanting to buy and all that works out, and we begin to move towards a decision to sell, and we begin a contract, that's what we're going to let everybody know. As soon as we get a contract that says we're going to sell this piece of property for $5 million, $6 million to this corporation, we're going to start meeting to talk about it. And we're going to give you as much information as we can give. We'll have as many meetings as we can have. Because there'll be a timeline that goes with it. If you ever bought a house, you know that there's certain things that happen. We'll share all the information. I do want to be upfront and say sometimes corporations want a confidentiality clause where they don't want other groups to know that they're buying because that jacks up the market and stuff. And we've been upfront in the ones that have done letters of intent before. We've been upfront with them saying, hey, at some point we'll have to disclose this to our church, but we'll do as best we can on that. So there'll be all kind of informational meetings. Another thing that has to happen is I have to write a letter of approval and the district superintendent have to write a letter of approval. Just so you know, I've been on the phone with Gary and he and I are both ready to write that letter whenever the time comes. But we also have to have district approval by the Mission Board of Church Extension. In other words, they are more than willing to, and we're already in conversation making sure I like to keep everybody informed. Their contingency would be this. If we were to sell, hey, we're going to sell this piece of property at Florida Hospital for $50, they're going to have some questions about that. Or if we're going to do, right? So we decided what we want to do, and we've talked to the DS about this, is rather than us doing all our stuff and voting yes, and maybe there being a glitch here by them, we're going to try and run the district and us concurrently. Is that the right word, concurrently? We'll run together concurrently, so they'll say yes and we'll say yes. So we're working on all this, informational meetings, and then we're going to have a church conference. We cannot buy property, we cannot sell property, we cannot build anything without a church conference and a church vote. I want to be upfront with you. We will give you 10 days notice. That is what's required. We're going to do 10 days. We'll try to do 2 weeks. We will put it in the bulletin. We will put it in the newsletter. We will put it in the email. We will do social media. If you don't make the meeting because you didn't pay attention, sorry. I did learn that our new software system we got today has the ability to text everybody. So we'll try to text you as well, letting you know when the meeting is. But then we're going to vote. This is off the record here. It's 50.1% is a majority according to the Methodist Church. I'm letting you know I struggle with, we have a vote of 52% in favor and 48% against. Or 50, yeah, a close vote's a tough thing. Just going to I hope we have more of a consensus. Don't need 100%. But something close on that. I also struggle with, and this is something I wrestle with, and I'd love for your advice on this at some point, not tonight, but just think about it. Do you do secret ballot? Do you do a raising of hands? I struggle. They're positives and negatives. I don't know what to do. Part of me likes raising the hand. You need to know where you stand, kind of stuff. I like that. That's me. On the board of ministry, you have to raise your hand, yes or no, on people. You can't say yes or no, raise your hand. The secret ballot, sometimes, one of the things I want to be appreciative of, the thing I don't like about secret ballots, people I don't want to vote against what the pastor's in favor of, kind of thing, so people raise that. I hope you're learning me well enough. I'm really good at it. You and I can disagree, and you can be wrong, and you and I can disagree, and you can think I'm wrong, but we still have a pretty good relationship after that. So we'll think about that and get that. But we cannot sign the contract until the church votes a positive approval. Once the church votes a positive approval, the contract's signed, and then you just got to wait on all the little parameters to be built, and it's sold. Then what do we do? I think, and none of this is official, but this is kind of my thoughts here. I think you pay off the loan first. I think that's the first thing you do is pay off. Some people have been saying, why aren't we working on paying off the loan now? We have a piece of property that's valued at $6, $7, $8, $9, $10 million. I don't want to do a capital campaign and a capital campaign and a capital campaign and a capital campaign. It just wears the church out. We're currently making our loan payments. We're doing good on that. The loan's getting paid now. But when we get in, if we get a chunk of cash, let's just say we sell it for $5.5 million. By the time we get through all the little things that have to get to, that's $5 million in our pocket. All right? Estimate. We take $500,000 and pay off the loan? What improvements do we do here? Some of the things the team's already been talking about, make the sanctuary handicap accessible. You know, there's a handicap ramp that goes up to the back. We don't know why, because if you get up to the back, you still can't go down the steps. It doesn't make any sense, kind of thing. The choir is growing at such a rate for the traditional service. The choir needs more space, but also the contemporary service needs some things. So could we redesign the platform area? The office over here was great in the 1960s. It's not very conducive for worship and leadership and all that kind of the ways we do things today. So what if we were to take $500,000 and pay off the loan? You take $1.5 million a year, upgrade this facility, upgrade some of our classrooms, like where y'all Sunday school meet. Maybe upgrade that a little bit to bring it into the 21st century, right?
20th would be great.
20th would be good. And then you get done with that. You have $3 million left over? What do? What's the next step? What happens out west? How are we reaching that community? We don't know, but there you go. I'd like for you to take a few minutes, talk about what I talked about at your table, take a few notes, and then we're going to ask questions. Thanks, so I organized some couple tables to give me some good questions. So I'll address one over here. One of these is, hey, if you start negotiating this, the Consolidated Promoting Company involved for, what if they don't want to deal with us because we're that close? I think it would be horrible of us to say we're going to sell this for $5 million and Consolidated Mode gets $1.5 million of it. It doesn't make any sense for us to move in that direction. If they're not going to work with us on it, we're not going to hamstring ourselves because we don't have to sell. We're not in a rush to sell. And something else, just so you know, we would like to sell it all at one time. We do have the ability to parcel it if we need to. And even at 25 acres, if we keep 25 acres, we could in 4 years make a decision, hey, this isn't working out, let's sell that 25 acres too. There's that possibility later on down the road. Hey, what other thoughts have you got?
The wetlands, is that one part you're talking about selling, or the part you're talking
Okay, there are 60 buildable acres. So we want to keep 25 buildable. We'll sell 35 buildable. 35 buildable. The wetlands is each of us get to take the appropriate amount of wetlands. Something we have learned, you remember what it's called? Bob was on that committee. That the wetlands, you can redistribute the wetlands.
No, Dana's the one.
Dana Smith, he's the one that knew that. That a company there's a way that you can trade your wetlands. What?
Move the pump.
Yeah, you move the pump to another location. Yeah, that's what we did. But we haven't learned that. So yeah, but we want 25 buildable, and we'll sell 35 buildable. Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, when you do new construction, you know, they always, this is Florida, so everything has to have a retention pond
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, you know, how much is that going to
We haven't got into all those details on that. I know the property I came from, 20 acres, including all the retention ponds and parking you have to do. We were still able to build a 35,000 square foot education wing, a 20,000 square foot multi-purpose building, a 10,000 square foot youth facility, 15,000 square foot children's facility, and like a 20,000 square foot other something. So 25 acres gives you the, by the way, this piece of property right here, you may know, 6.
You're close.
6 acres here, and this is what we have on it. Now we got parking issues here. There you go. And just so you know, one of the other things we talk about on this area, we need to deal with some parking issues. One of the upgrades on this piece of property. Other thoughts?
I guess there's one enough to have worded exactly. Is there a large enough either membership or attendee base to support 2 campuses?
Right.
Or you just, I realize you got more people getting ready to move in.
Yeah, and we haven't thought through exactly what it would look like to do whatever out there. We do have to pay attention to the fact we need to do some demographic studies. Like you really don't need to pay. The key thing the Methodist Church pays attention to when they're going to start a new campus, you know what we pay attention to? Publix. When a Publix goes into an area, that means there's enough, the Methodist Church believes there's enough people to support a Methodist church out there. Y'all laugh about that, understand the public's headquarters at First is in Lakeland, they're very active at First Methodist Church in Lakeland with conferences. Methodist Church pays attention to where public, we'll tell you, when you see a public's out on LPGA, we're gonna start thinking about doing something out there, right? I do think, one of the things I would be great, what I love about this sanctuary over here, it is designed for great traditional worship. It is, you want to get married? Awesome. You want to get buried? Awesome. Right? Most of our youth and younger youth go to school out there. We go to school at Spruce Creek. We Seabreeze. If you're not, most of us in this room don't have teenagers anymore, but Seabreeze is shrinking its zone. And they're not letting you cheat to get in the zone as much. One of the reasons Chris and I moved into the trails is because, you know, everything west of 95 doesn't get to go to Seabreeze. And it's starting to creep in a little bit each year. We're going to Mainland and then our the IB program at Spruce Creek. So we want to begin to look out there. Some of the things to begin to think about for me, and this is me, not the committee, this is me. What would it look like if you could build a multi-purpose facility out there that could be used for multi-purpose stuff? That means you could have kids activities, adult activities, worship at some point, all of that. I don't think we should be thinking about let's split our church and one group be here and one group be let's split and go out there. But you get 6,500 homes, 2,500 homes, and then growth begins out there. I mean that's 10,000 homes. And you average 2.5 people in 10,000 homes. That's 20,000 people moving into the area at some point. So how do we reach those folks? I do think something, and I'd love to. I'm on front load. That's good. I'm on front load November the 19th from the DS's here. Y'all to come to that meeting, 1:30 p.m. We've seen what he's going to be talking about. Just so you're aware, one of the things they're starting to chew on in the conference is certain churches kind of being a geographical church, meaning First United of Ormond Beach, but have more of a role with Riverview, Tomoka, and community. And what does that begin to look like for us to work together with that and how that can into play?
I remember what?
19th, 1:30 p.m. Any other thought, Pam?
I'm not promoting us moving out west, but was there any discussion about First Baptist Church of Daytona Beach selling their property and building it?
There was no discussion about First Baptist Church selling their property and moving west because we didn't know that back when that came through. Yeah.
Been interested to have some conversation about their decision.
Yeah, that is something we'll probably start. And property team kind of, I will say they met a lot, and so they got to the point where we're going to breathe a little bit. And once we get into the new year, we begin to see where we're starting to go, and we'll probably start putting some more teams together. If you want to be interested in that, let me know. We're always looking to add a few people at different times for stuff. Let me know on that. Other thoughts, comments? Yeah.
Yeah, one top thought that we had was we felt like the proceeds ought to be tied and spent on somebody else besides
Yeah,
us.
fair. That would fit into what one of our goals is, our dreams to give away as much as we're spending on ourselves. That'd be a good thing when we get the money. I think, here's my weakness, David. You start talking to me about money, I will spend it today. We can do this, we can do this, and fortunately there's some people that are smart enough to go, yeah, just wait. And so I think one of the things that's going to happen is we'll sign that letter of intent at some point. We don't, and then we'll have the church meeting, and then once we have the church meeting and we vote to approve the sale, and let's say the guy, we have a church meeting in November of next year and we sell it for $6 million, then we got to start having then that's when we start having the discussion. What are we going to do? It doesn't do us any good to have the what are we going to do discussions. We don't know what we're going to have. But I do think one of the things I am excited about, since I've been here, that property's been for sale. There's been a for sale sign out there, varying from 12 acres to just for sale for anything. But now we're able to market it a little bit more. To go to our realtor and say, this is what we're willing to do. And I think that'll begin to drive some things out there because all the property around Tanger Outlets is all bought up. So now they're starting to expand out from there. There was not part of the one article I talked about, there's some development going now on Clyde Morris. That's pretty good too.
Well, does the hospital want to buy more of that land? I mean, they're our neighbor, they seem to be probably a good
Well,
customer.
it would make sense of us to, if we had somebody wanting to buy the property, just to call the hospital to see if they were interested. You know, just to say, hey, we're gonna sell this to John Martley for 5.5 million, but if you want it for 5.75.
Or some medical facility.
Yeah, I mean, it would make sense of us to have a conversation with the hospital before we sold it to anybody else, just in case they're interested. Listen, we'll be on a deal with anybody. One thing somebody did say, they were like, hey, be careful who you sell to, because you can't, because what if they sell to somebody, right? What if we sell to this nice John Marsley guy who's gonna build a whatever out there, a habitat community, but he's too cheap and decides to sell it for a profit to a corporation that wants to buy a strip mall out there. Well, one, we already have a planned unit development on the property. It is already zoned. We are grandfathered in, zoned for that. So that controls certain things, like you can't put a strip club next to us, or a bar. We can put it in a brewery, we just couldn't put it in a bar. There's certain things that couldn't go in there, all that. So we're kind of protected with that. And with the hospital next to it, it really doesn't limit certain things going into it. Anything else?
When in 2020 are we off the hook?
September 2020 is the deadline at 100%. Like I said, it wouldn't do us any good to sell and lose money off of it. We're just, I've shared this before. I met with Consolidated Tomoka and their leadership in 2014. I've been here about a little over a year. Myself and Tom Hart, who represents us as an attorney, because Tom said, what harm is there? I asked him, what's the harm in going to talk to them? He goes, the worst thing they can tell you is you got to honor the covenant. And Gray went with us, and their CEO and their CFO were there, and somebody else as well. And it was real clear they didn't want to work with us, because they said, we said we're thinking about selling it to a retirement community. Oh, we're getting ready to go to a retirement community. That's a compete clause. We're getting ready, and we said we're going to sell it to an Alzheimer care unit. Well, that's a compete clause. And Tom said, we're also thinking about putting an apartment community up. Well, that's a complete clause. And I did my sarcasm going, we're going to put it in a strip club? Like those guys all over dancing for Jesus thing. And the guy kind of all right looked at me and went, do you understand what I'm saying? I really understand what you're saying. You understand we can just wait 4 years, or 6 years. At that point, it was 6 years. And it'll be ours free and clear. He's right.
You know, when we put that thing up for sale, they own all of that land on the east side of Williamson. They're gonna compete with us.
Well, there are also some companies that want to buy that east side of the land but want the west side of the land too.
My point is, they're gonna compete with us, so we have to watch that.
What did Jesus say? Be as innocent as doves, but as wise as serpents.
You got a good problem right now.
What's the good problem?
The value's going up by the hour.
Right.
And it's gonna keep going up for years.
Right.
So don't be in a rush.
Here's the deal. This was information. We wanted you to be up to speed where we're at and know everything. Listen, if you ever have questions or concerns, feel free to come talk to me. I'll be glad to do it. I'll tell you, Brett Robinson on our staff, our operations manager, that dude is spot on with knowing stuff and great. He is like this on stuff. You can come and talk to him. He'll be glad to. Julia Harris, she goes by both. She's the chairperson, kind of this group. She presented back in August, and you can talk to her at any point. And I give you my word. As soon as we have movement, we will let you know. We'll have more meetings. I hope you'll be able to say we meeted out rather than we didn't know what was going on. I'd rather be much more transparent with you than keep stuff from you. I need your cards because Buck and Brett couldn't be here tonight. They kind of wanted to see some of the things y'all were talking. Buck James is the chairperson of our guide team. They wanted to see some of the things that folks were thinking about to see how we can address them on that. But I want to close in prayer. I wrote down a prayer for this. And just so you know, I'm going to send this prayer out on Monday to everybody in the church so you can have it and pray it together. God, I give you thanks for the wisdom of this church to purchase property years ago, that today can be a blessing for us. I ask that you continue to grant us wisdom on the best next step to take. I pray for a buyer, for a good price, and for a smooth transaction. I ask, oh God, that you do not let us lose sight of creating places and spaces for people to connect with you and each other. May we use this resource to help create those places and spaces where people can discover hope, they can deepen faith and demonstrate love. But most of all, God, don't let me get in the way of what you're trying to do. May I be open to your Spirit at work. Amen. All right. Peace, love, all that good stuff.